Hello everyone, welcome to this video. As you are aware, this is the third video in this series of GRE Big Book problem solving. Here we are doing the quant section. We have already solved the first test, two sections of those, and those would be available on the channel. You can also find the link to those videos in the description. So the idea here is to go through those very standard GRE Quant tests, big book tests. There are 27 tests, two sections each. So that's going to be 54 such videos. And this is the third such video. There is not really any necessity to follow them in that order, but for the sake of completeness, you might want to start from the first video, right? So without much ado, let's get started. All right, so what we have here is test 2 section 2. Let's look at the questions themselves. Okay, quantitative comparison. The first question, let's go through the first question. 0.8 on one side and 1 by 2 plus 1 by 3. Okay, so because this is in decimals, let me write in decimal. 1 by 2 would be 0.5, 1 by 3 would be 0.3333 recurring. Okay, so it's going to be 0.83333 recurring, right? And this is 0.8, so the answer is going to be B. Pretty straightforward. Okay, Pat is older than Lee. All right, Pat is older than Lee, and Lee is younger than Maria. Lee is younger than Maria. Okay, what is the relationship between P and M? That's what they are asking, right? We can't really say. For example, it could be 10, 8, and Maria could be 9, in which case she is younger than Pat, or Maria could also be 11, in which case she would be older than Pat. So we can't really determine. The answer is D. Okay. Question 3. A farmer has two large plots of land that are equal in area. All right. The first is divided into 16 parcels with n acres. So the first area is going to be 16n. Okay. And the second is divided into 20 parcels with m acres in each. So 20m. Okay. And both of them are equal. Okay. All right. If 16n is equal to 20m, what can we say? N has to be the bigger number. Correct? Because let's say 2n is equal to 3m. If you solve this using some numbers, some random numbers that will fit this equation, we can say n is equal to 3, m is equal to 2, right? So m is always going to be smaller number. So here the answer is A. All right. Question 4, x is greater than 1. Okay, is it integers, fractions? We don't know that, but x is greater than 1. Okay, x minus 4 and minus 2. Interesting. So let's say x is equal to 2. X is equal to 2. What do I get? X minus 4 would be, in that case, x minus 4 would be minus 2. And here also I have minus 2. So I get answer as C. But what if x is 200? Correct? There is no cap on x. It just has to be greater than 1. If x is 200, obviously x minus 4 is going to be 196, which is going to be much bigger than minus 2. In that case, the answer would be A. We are not getting any consistent case. That means the answer is D. Always think of different cases. Alright, rectangular region R has width 8 and perimeter 40. Okay. Let's say this is rectangular. Okay, for the sake of simplicity, let me just draw here. Okay, this is width R, width 8. So this is 8, this is 8. What's going to be this line? This is going to be XX, let's say. Correct? And the perimeter is 40. So what is the perimeter here? It would be x plus 8 plus x plus 8. So basically 2 times x plus 8, that is 40. That means x plus 8 is equal to 20. That means x is going to be 12. Right? So x is equal to 12. X is equal to 12. Alright, so what's the area now? Area is length into the width or breadth. So 12 into 8, the area is going to be 96. Correct? And 256. So the answer is B. This is not even close. Right? Okay, 4n square 2n plus 1 into 2n minus 1. Okay, this is a plus b, a minus b form. So that means if you multiply, you're going to get a square minus b square. That means we are going to get, what are we going to get? A square here is going to be 4n square, correct? 4n square minus b square. Minus b square is going to be minus 1 square. So 4n square minus 1. So you're going to get 4n square minus 1 in column B and 4n square in column A. Obviously 4n square is the bigger number. So here answer is A. Okay. A and B are both greater than 0 but less than 1. Okay. Both greater than 0 but less than 1. Let me do it here. Greater than 0, less than 1. So both are somewhere here. Okay, let's say they are 0.5, 0.8, just two random numbers. I could have taken other way around also. I mean A, B like this, or this could be B, this could be A. Doesn't matter because anyway the expressions are symmetric, so doesn't matter. Okay, but A square plus B square and A plus B. Now how do we do this? Okay, you could do it with these numbers, but then you will not know whether there are any other possibilities that might break that pattern. Okay, uh, but let's do it with the numbers. But again, the numbers are going to be little complicated to deal with. What there is another way of doing this. You can do it with the numbers, of course. The other way would be, just look at this: a square plus b square, a plus b, right? So if I square this thing, column B, if I square, what do I get? I get a square plus b square plus 2ab. Okay, and here I am getting a square plus b square. I think that would even be longer because I'll be squaring one part, I'll not be squaring the other part. I think that's even longer. Let's not go through that route. So let's just, easier way is to go ahead with these numbers. Okay, so but I don't want to do this extra. But I think that's fine. That's not going to take too much time. Okay, so square of zero point 0.5 is going to be 0.5 into 0.5, 0.25. Square of 0.8 is going to be 0.64, right? What do I get? If I add both of them, I get 9, I get 8, 0.89. So for this, I get 0.89. And for if I add them up, I get 1.3. So the answer here is B. Don't really have to do all that calculation. I was thinking I will do a plus b square, but then I want to compare the two columns, right? So I will have to square this also. Then it will get into a raised to 4, b raised to 4. That will not help, right? A straightforward number crunching way we could do. We could have even picked up even smaller number, zero point 0.1, zero point 0.2 also. Uh, right, I think that's the most straightforward way. Okay, let's move on. Question number 8. X plus y, okay, x plus y and z. Okay. Now standard calculation, so rather standard property of a triangle, that would be any two sides, sum of any two sides is always greater than the third side, right? Let's understand this intuitively. Why? Because if the sum of two sides is the same as the third side, okay, so let's say this, you start from here, okay, you go x distance, uh, so start from this point, you go y distance, and the third line is x plus y. Okay, so in that case, the third point of the triangle will land on this line itself, right? There will not be any triangle. Also, if x plus y, let's say you start from this point, you go x distance, you start from this point, there is, you go y distance, let's say you y distance falls here. If x plus y is less than the third side, okay, then again there is no triangle, because this point is not, these two lines are not meeting, these points have to be the same point, right? So there's the only possibility is when you take a line which is x plus y, and you plot x and y separately, and they meet at some point, that is this x, this distance is x, this distance is y. In only that case you get a triangle, right? That's how the property comes from. So anyway, just if you know the property, you will still be able to do it. X plus y is always going to be greater than z, so the answer is going to be A. Okay, question 9, 3 raised to x, 4 raised to x. All right, interesting. Mm, okay, let me pick some number for x. Let's say x is equal to 1. What do I get? I get 3 versus 4. In that case, the answer is B. But what if I put x is equal to 0? I get 3 raised to 0, 4 raised to 0. Both side I get 1. The answer is C. Okay, I'm getting two different cases. Uh, Not solvable. If I put x is equal to minus 1, again I'm going to get 1 by 3 and 1 by 4. Obviously 1 by 3 is going to be greater. So I get A. I'm not getting any consistent answer. So answer is D. Okay, let me just get rid of this for the next question. Okay, question 10, PQRS is a parallelogram. All right, so that means these lines are parallel. Okay, X and Y. So if this is a parallelogram, we know that the opposite angles are going to be equal. So that means 3x is equal to 4y. Again, right? 3x is equal to 4y. That means what do I get from there? That means x. One solution of that would be x is equal to 4, y is equal to 3. Correct? So x has to be greater than y. The answer would be A. The sum of all the integers from 19 to 59 inclusive, okay, and sum of all the integers from 22 to 60 inclusive. Okay. Now the thing to observe here is 59, 60 very close, 19, 22 very close. Also there is a significant overlap in those two series. So let me just talk about series A, which is column A. What do I get? A 19 plus 20 plus 21 plus 22, like that, till 58, 59, right? That's first series. Okay. And in B, what do I get? I get 22 plus 23, like that, till 59 plus 60. Okay. So now you will observe that, let me just change the color. You will observe that this 22 plus 22 to 59, that is a common part, right? So let me just express that as a common part. Okay. So let's say that is X. So what do I get? A is equal to 19 plus 20 plus 21 plus X, and B is equal to X plus 60. Correct? And I need to compare A versus B. Okay, so what is A? Now let's do AX. A is X plus 20, 21, 19. That is also sum is 60. This is also 60. So both of these quantities are same. Pretty interesting problem. Not a difficult one, but very unique in terms of how this has been structured. All right, let's look at question 12. The equations of the line graphed on the rectangular coordinate system above is this equation. Okay, this is y is equal to mx plus c of that form. If you're able to observe that, we have to compare PO and RO. So PO, that means we need to get this versus we need to get this. Okay, there are multiple ways of doing this. Let's do it the math way, the calculation based way. Okay, what do I have to get here for PO? I need to get this point P, right? I know that the x coordinate of that is 0, correct? So because that's on the y axis. Okay, so let me put x is equal to 0. What do I get? Y is equal to 0 plus 3. That means y is equal to 3, right? So the basically what I'm saying is 0 comma 3 are the coordinates here. So PO is equal to 3, correct? Same way, to find out the coordinates of R, I already know that it is uh, something comma 0, that is y is equal to 0. Let me put y is equal to 0. Okay, in this equation what do I get? Y is equal to 0 means 0 is equal to 8x by 9 plus 3, correct? So that means x is going to be minus 3 into 9 by 8. That means x is going to be minus 27 by 8. Okay, right? The distance here, this is minus because this is on the left of y-axis. Okay, but the distance is going to be 27 by 8. Okay, now I have to compare 3 and 27 by 8. So 3 I can write as 27 by 9, and this is 27 by 8. Obviously 27 by 8 is bigger, so the answer is B. Okay, there are other ways you could do this also. For example, this is y is equal to mx plus t form. So you already know that this x-intercept is 3. So this thing is 3. Already you know. Okay. There's another, so that will save some calculation for you. The other way is that you know the slope is 8 by 9. Okay. So that means if the slope was 1, exactly 1, this line is going to be 45 degrees. Correct? When the slope is less, that means this line is inclining slowly, okay, as compared to 45 degrees. Okay, what that basically means is that if this line is slanting, this portion, that means you are not looking at a triangle like this, you're looking at a triangle like this. Okay, okay, let me draw it properly. Okay, a triangle like this will have less than 1 slope. This is a very small less than 1. This is at least very close to 1. Okay, but just to make the point, I'm showing it this way. Okay, that means this number is always going to be bigger than this number. This distance is going to be bigger than this distance. That means RO is going to be bigger. That's what we found out here also. Okay, you could do it either way. This was more intuitive way. Okay, let's look at, okay, let me just get rid of this for the next question. All right, question number 13, 0 greater than A greater than B. Okay, I don't know anything. I'll just pick some numbers. 0 greater than -1 greater than -2. Looks good. AB is equal to 2. AB square is equal to 4. I get answer as B. Let me take some other cases. Now I know this is square, right? And these are negative numbers. So let me also take that a case where both these numbers are less than -1, greater than -1. For example, 0 greater than minus 0.5 greater than minus 0.8. Okay. Uh, what do I get here? Because why am I taking this case? Because there is a square here, and when you square a number less than 1, right, you get a smaller number. When you square a number greater than 1, you get a bigger number. So I want to take that into consideration. Okay, so AB here is going to be 0.5 into 0.8, negative negative becomes positive, so I get 0.4. AB square, I get 0.16. Correct? Now here I get answer as A. Right, I'm not getting consistent answer, that means the answer has to be D. Okay, fine. Let's look at this. A 20-foot ladder leaning against a vertical wall. Okay, so this is the original position. With the base of ladder 10 feet. All right, from the wall is pulled 2 feet farther out from the wall. Okay, so this is the new position, this to this. All right, causing the top of the ladder to drop x feet. I need to compare x with 2. Okay, so let me find out what that number would be. Okay, let me first original position. This is going to be 10. Obviously this is 90 degrees. This is 20. Correct. You can do Pythagorean theorem and you will realize that this is 10 raised to 10 root 3. This height, original height was 10 root 3. Why? Because this is square of this is 100, square of this is 300, and 100 plus 300, 400, square root of that is 20. Okay, simple Pythagorean. So what is root 3? 1.73. That means 10 root 3 is 17.3. That was the original position. When I pull it down by 12, further away by 2 meters, that means the base becomes 12. The ladder height, ladder length is 20, right? Again, I do the math, I get that this will be 60. Why? This is 256. Square of this plus square of this 144 will give you square of this 400. Okay. So basically, x has come down by 17.3 to 16. It has come down by 1.3. Okay. So x is 1.3. I have 2 here. The answer is B. Correct? Okay. Let's move on. 19 raised to 9 by 9 raised to 99. Okay. Sorry, 99 raised to 9. 11 raised to 9. 9 raised to 90. Okay, so I see that the denominator is 9 raised to something, but here I have 11. So let me try to express this in terms of 11. So 99 is 9 into 11 raised to 9 divided by 9 raised to 19. What do I get here? I get 9 raised to 9 into 11 raised to 9 by 9 raised to 99, which basically means that I have 11 raised to 9. If this comes down, I get 9 raised to 9. That is what I have in column A. And what do I have in column B? I have 11 raised to 9, 9 raised to 90. Okay, I get the same thing. Both expressions are same. Answer choice C. Okay, let's move to question 16. If the sales tax on an appliance priced at $300 is between 5% and 8%, okay, 5% and 8% on 300. So that's going to be 5 3s are 15 to 8 3s are 24, that much of tax somewhere between. Then the cost, that is price plus sales tax. Then price plus sales tax will be 315 to 324, one somewhere in between. Could be what? There's only one number here, 380. It will have to be 380. I mean, among the given answer choices. It could be anywhere between these two figures, but among the answer choices, B. Okay. Let's look at this. There are no squares or anything, pretty straightforward. 2 into, but be careful with the calculations. Okay, sometimes you mess up with the negative signs and everything. Okay, so 2x plus 3x plus 5x, so that's 5 3 8 plus 2 10, 10x minus 8x, so that is 20x minus 8x, that is 12x. Okay, so answer choice D. 18, which of the following is the product of the two positive integers whose sum is 3? What are the two positive integers whose sum is 3? 1 and 2, those are the only two positive integers. What is the product of that? 1 into 2 is 2. It can't get any easier than this. Okay, but the language, if you're not able to interpret the language, uh, sometimes it can be tricky. Okay, but the answer is C here. Okay, 19, if an integer y is subtracted from an integer x, okay, so that means x minus y. If I do this and the result is greater than y, then y must be what? Okay, interesting. Look at it this way. I'm subtracting something from y and I'm getting something x greater than x. Okay, that means whatever I'm subtracting has to be negative, right? Let's look at it this way. X, how do I explain this in a simpler way? See, this quantity is bigger, right? We know. That means whatever I'm adding, what am I adding to x? X plus minus y. This is what I'm adding, right? When will I add something and I get something bigger? When I add a positive quantity, correct? That means y minus y has to be positive. That means y has to be negative, right? So it has to be less than, not less than x, less than 0, less than 0. Okay, you can also take some numbers and see that, but the logic is this, correct? Again, the language can be tricky here. Okay, but there is a must be, so you could do it this way also, right? If it is must be, any numbers would work. So let's say uh, x is equal to 3, y is equal to something, we'll figure out. Okay, if y subtracted from x, I subtract, sorry, I 3 minus y and I get something greater than 3. When will this be possible? Okay, this will be possible only when y is negative, correct? Okay, fine. A circle with radius 2 is intersected by a line at points R and T. Circle with radius 2. Whenever there is circle, always be mindful whether it's radius or diameter. Circle with radius 2 is intersected by a line at points R and T. So this is R, this is T. The line could be anywhere. It could also be the diagonal. Okay. The maximum possible distance between R and T. That means what is the biggest distance it can get? Obviously, the biggest distance will be when it is the radius. The maximum possible distance is going to be the radius. That's going to be 2 times the, maximum possible distance is going to be the diameter, which is going to be 2 times the radius. That means 4. So the answer here is D. Okay, now let's see income and expenditures. Okay, this is income, this is expenditure of an international service agency year X. Okay, the total income is 60 million, the total expenditure is 60 million. Okay, same figure. That's great for us, right? Because then I can directly compare the two figures. As in 26.6 is going to be about twice as 13.1. That kind of statement I can do because the base is the same. Okay, and then there are these categories given. For income, you have US government, 26% of $60 is coming from, is the income coming from this source, then this source is 0.9, this source is 1.9, this expenditure is 13.1, this expenditure is 6.8, like that. Okay, so we don't really have to worry about the details right now, but we got an idea of how this thing is organized. Okay, let's look at the questions now. Approximately how much of the agency's income, okay, so I'm going to look at the first graph. Income was provided by contributed commodities. Okay, so let me just change the color. Contributed commodities income in millions. All right, what is contributed commodities? Contributed commodities is 19.5% of $60, 60 million. Okay, so let's 19.5 of 60, that much million. Now you can do the calculation, but the simple way to do is 19.5% is basically close to 20%, which is 1/5. So let me do that. 1/5 of 60 is going to be what? 12, right? So approximately this answer is going to be somewhere close to 12. Okay, the other answer choices are way too big, right? If it was something like 11.5, 11.8, then probably I would have had to get into this. Okay, but anyway, they are asking approximately, so this is fine. Okay, let's move on. Of the following, the category that had expenditures, okay, now I'm looking at the second graph, the expenditures most nearly equal to the average expenditure per category. Okay, so first thing I'll have to find out is the average expenditure per category. Okay, so that means I need to find out how many categories. Let's see how many categories. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 categories. Okay, so the average expenditure per category is going to be 100 by 10 is equal to 10%. This is in terms of percent, or in terms of absolute value is going to be $6 million, right? Why am I doing percentage ways? Because I don't have to do the $1,000,000 calculation. So what is the question here? Okay, of the following category that has expenditure most nearly equal to 10%. So what is the figure most nearly equal to 10%? Okay, oh, I got it. Let's see if I have any other figure that is equal to 12%. This is the second closest figure, but obviously this is not as close as 10.1. So new investments is closest to the average. New investments is closer to the average. D. Okay. Income from which of the following sources? Now I'm looking at income, that is first graph, was most nearly equal to 2.9 million. Okay, so what would be the total income? Total income was 60. Out of that, I'm talking about 2.9. I'll get a percent. Again, I don't have to do much calculation. Approximately, if this, I assume this to be 3, which is very close. 3 by 60, that's going to be 5%. A little less than 5%. So what income source is little less than 5%? Okay, that's the question. So little less than 5% is freight reimbursement, right? This is quite less. I mean, not as close as this. Okay, you can do the math again just to verify, but freight reimbursement is going to be the closest answer. See, look at the language, most nearly equal. So that's basically the clue here also. Approximately, that's kind of the clue that we can rely on approximations. Anyway, see, they are going to pick numbers that are not going to be matching so close. Okay, so don't really worry about that. Okay, now this seems to be a big question. Let's say in year X, 1/3 of the agency's refugee housing expenditure of, okay, expenditure of 1/3 of that, 1/5 of emergency worker expenditure, okay, 1/4 of commodity expenditure, 2/3 of post disaster assisted expenditures, but directly related to one earthquake. So four different types of expenditure and some fractions of those are related to one thing, that's the earthquake. The total of these expenditures was approximately how many millions of dollars? This is a very tedious one, not a very fan of this. So basically what we will have to do is find out refugee housing expenditure, take one third of that, find out emergency worker, then one take one fifth of that, and all that. Okay. So this is very tedious, very prone to calculation error. So let's be careful. One third of something, let me pick that number later, refugee housing plus one fifth of emergency worker. Okay, let me just do that. Refugee housing and emergency workers. What is refugee housing? 12.4. Okay, emergency worker, where is emergency worker? Emergency worker 20.3. Okay, then what do I have? One fourth of commodity and two third of post disaster. One fourth of commodity, let's say one fourth of commodities, 19.5, 19.5, and two third of what was that? Some of these terms you will not remember, so just be very careful. Post disaster. Okay, what is post disaster? 13.1. Okay, 13.1. Now we'll have to add these all up to get some percentage, and then we will convert it into millions of dollars. Okay. Anyway, we have to do approximately. So we'll see. Let's assume this was 12. So 12 by 3, I get 4. Then I get 20 by 5, I get 4. Then I get one fourth of 20. So that is 5. And then I get uh, 2 by 3 of 13. Let's say 2 by 3 of 12 would be 8. Okay. These are very rough calculations because even the answer choices are quite far apart. So what do I get? 8 plus 8, 16 plus 5, 21. So 21% is what I get. Okay, be careful what we are doing. Not $1,000,000, it's 21%. 21% approximately of 60. Again, 21, I round it off to 20. So 20% of 60, one fifth of 60 would be 12 million. Correct? Okay, but I don't have 12. I have 11 or 30. Okay, now this is tricky. I have to think whether it has to be bigger than 12 or uh, greater than 12. Okay, obviously it will be bigger than 12 because this is 21%. Okay, so I'll go with 30. Okay, you can do the final calculation also just to be sure. Okay, but yeah, 21%. So greater, it will have to be 20. The question that you might ask is how do you know this was exactly 21? Yeah, to get that answer, maybe you want to do that calculation. Okay, but this is uh, see, it will have to be on the upper side of 20 because everywhere we have rounded down. Correct, except here, everywhere we have rounded down. So 20% was anyway conservative. That means it has to be 21 or 22 maybe. In that case, it will anyway have to be more than 12. Okay. Okay, let's look at this. Question number 25. Of the following, which is the closest approximation to the percent of freight expenditures not covered by freight reimbursement? So we'll have to look at freight expenditure and freight reimbursement. Okay, let's look at where these guys are. A freight reimbursement is here. A freight expenditure is here. Okay. So what they're saying is that 6.8% we have freight expenditure. Reimbursement is done for 4.9 only. Okay. What percentage is not covered? Okay. So let's see. 4.9 is covered out of 6.8. That means not covered would be how much? It would be 1.9 out of 6.8. What would that number be? Let's do some rough calculation. 20 by 70. Okay, so this is going to be somewhere less than one third. Somewhere less than one third. Okay, what is that number? Somewhere less than one third. Okay, this is significantly less than one third. Somewhere less than one third is 28%. Okay, you can do a finer math and you will get some closer figure, but the answer choices are quite spaced out. Okay, fine. Let's move on to the next question now. And the figure above, x is equal to 110 degrees, all right, y is equal to 120. Okay, if x is equal to 110, 110, that means with respect to this line, this guy is going to be what? 180 minus 110, so that's going to be 70. Okay, but this 70 is this person plus something is y. So 70 plus something is 120. That means this thing has to be 50. Okay, which is what they are asking. Z. What is Z? Z is equal to 50. Okay, pretty straightforward. What is the area of the triangle region above? Again, Pythagorean triangle 6, 8, 10. You can also do it the Pythagorean way. 10 square minus 6 square, that means 100 minus 36, you get 64. Root of that is 8. Okay, you get 8 here. What is the area here? Half of the base into height. So half into 8 into 6 is equal to 24. Okay, very straightforward. Okay, a widow received one third of her husband's estate. Okay, let me say ex-husband was 3x, she got x, and each of her three sons received one third of the balance. Okay, so balance would be 2x. I would have to divide that into three sons. So this 2x divided by 3 will lead to fractions. So let me pick different numbers. Okay, I'll do the same thing, but I'll pick 9x as the income, husband's income, estate. Out of that, one third, that means 3x will be gone to the widow. What we have is 6x remaining. Out of the 6x, there are three sons. Each of them will get one third. That means each son will get 2x, 2x, 2x. Now the S1, S2, S3. Okay. Now the figures are easy to work with. Okay. 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6 plus 3, 9. Okay. If the widow and one of her sons received a total of 60,000. Okay. So widow has 2x, one of the sons has 2x. Sorry, widow has 3x, one son has 2x. Both of them together 5x is 60,000. Okay, so x is going to be 12,000. So the total income, total estate was 9x, 9 times 12, 108. Straightforward. If x plus 2 divided by y minus 3 is equal to 0, which of the following must be true? Okay, so whenever we have something equal to 0, the numerator has to be 0. So x plus 2 is equal to 0. So x has to be minus 2. And whenever we divide by something and that has a proper defined number, okay, rational number, so the new denominator cannot be 0. That means y cannot be 3. These are the two things that I can derive from here. Which of the following must be true? X is equal to minus 2, y cannot be 3. X is equal to minus 2 and y cannot be 3. Okay, this y cannot be 3, maybe you are not able to reason, but when you look at the answer choices you will realize that, right? Because y is 3, then this becomes undefined. Okay, if x is equal to 0.888, y is equal to root of 0.888, and z is square of 0.888, which are following is true. Okay, you have to find out how do they stand with respect to each other. Okay, interesting. Let's see. So this is 0, this is 1, and 0.888 x is somewhere here, 0.888. Okay, what happens when I multiply 0 0.8 with 0 0.8? I get 0.64. So the number reduces. Why? Because uh, these I'm talking about positive numbers. Okay, so the number reduces because that number itself is less than 1. So x square is going to be 0.64 something. Okay, 64. We don't need to worry about the exact number, but let's say 0.64. I'm rounding it off to 0.8. You can round it off to 0.9. In fact, that's technically better because this is closer to 0.9. But anyway, this number is going to be less than x. That's the point. So the same logic, I take the root of that. That's going to be bigger, right? The root of that is going to be bigger. So root of x is going to be bigger. Okay, so simple. I have this is as z, this is my x, and this is my y. That is the relationship. Okay, so z less than x less than y. Where do I have this? Okay, z less than x less than y. E. Okay, so fairly straightforward uh, set is what I would say, as compared to the previous set that we solved, that was test 1 section 7. This was more straightforward, but some of the questions that I liked in this were, I think this required a little bit of visualization. So that was there. The graph was, I think, pretty straightforward, but I'm not fond of this questions. They just so time consuming, right, and prone to errors. There was less logic in that also. Apart from that, yeah, there are quite a few very straightforward questions. You could do it in like 30 seconds or so. This question I liked. This was very innovative in terms of the scenario. Um, and I think these are pretty standard type of questions. Okay. So hope you had some fun solving this, and keep looking forward to uh, more questions that I'll be solving, more sets rather that I'll be solving. Okay. Happy preparing.